Hello, in this presentation we will record another transaction for the receipt of payment for work done in the past into our bookkeeping problem in Excel, looking at the same type of transaction that could happen in accounting software such as QuickBooks. This is the third receipt payment transaction we have looked at. We will therefore go a little bit faster. If you want more detail, you can go to the prior receipt payment transactions and look at a little bit more detail and in-depth on. If you would like more information about the QuickBooks Pro, take a look at our comprehensive course in the link below on them. If we looked at the QuickBooks first, and then we're going to move to Excel and input this information to Excel, we would have a receive payment. Remember, that means that we already issued the invoice. Now we are receiving payment from the customer for invoice received in the past. The data input into QuickBooks is relatively easy, meaning all we need to do is put the name of the customer. QuickBooks will then say, hey, we have an invoice out for that customer. Is this related to that invoice? We're going to say yes. And then put in the date and the type of payment. That's pretty much it. QuickBooks will reduce the accounts receivable, given that it is a customer payment, by the amount received. That's what a customer payment form does. And then the other side will go to an account we call undeposited funds, that being the thing that's a bit different from a QuickBooks transaction than what we often learn in theory. Let's record the same thing in Excel. Going to our Excel worksheet, we will record this transaction. If we think about an accounting theory problem, then in essence we have a problem that would say something like, we received payment on account. And that means that we got money, typically cash, but in this case we're going to put the cash not into the checking account, but into an undeposited funds account, which we will then deposit in the checking account in the grouping of the deposit at the end of hopefully each day. So we're going to increase the undeposited funds account, which is a cash type of account. It's got a debit balance. We're going to do the same thing to it, which in this case is another debit. So we're going to copy this. We're going to scroll back down. We're going to make a new journal entry in cell F25, the date 1/12, and we are going to right click, then paste that undeposited. It's going to look at the same as the other two journal entries up top. However, remember that we also need to record this receivable by subsidiary ledger. That's where this process will differ from the other two transactions. We have $8,000 in the debit to undeposited funds. We're going to credit something. I'm going to use our plug type formula. Instead of just typing a negative 8,000, you could type negative of that cell. Taking that cell, flipping the sign, in essence taking it and multiplying it times -1. Then we just need to know what that account will be. We're going to receive this payment because we did work in the past, meaning we're not going to credit revenue. We didn't do work at this point in time. We already did the work, invoiced the client. We're receiving payment on that. Therefore, we're going to reduce the receivable. Receivable has a debit balance in it. We're going to do the opposite thing to it to make it go down, which in this case is a credit. So we're going to copy that. Scroll down, we're going to, in the credit section, we're in G26, right-clicking in G26 and pasting 1, 2, 3. Then we're in the Home tab, we're in the Alignments group, we're going to increase the indentation, and there's our journal entry. We have journalized the journal entry in the General Journal, and now we'll go through the process of posting this journal entry to the General Ledger. So here's the undeposited funds in the journal entry. Here it is on the trial balance. Same order on the general ledger. We're going to go ahead and freeze the panes before we go through this process by going to AJ1. Go to the Home tab. We want to go to the View. We want to go to the View tab and then go to the Windows group and freeze panes. We want to freeze the panes. Then we're going to find that undeposited funds. We're going to go to the right and find the undeposited funds. Scrolling down, there's the undeposited funds. We are in cell AU24. We're going to select equals in AU24 and point to this 8,000 in H25. That will increase the undeposited funds from 12,500 to 20,500. That 20,500 also being found, scrolling left, on the trial balance, 20,500 here on the trial balance. Then we're going to record the other side, the accounts receivable. There's the accounts receivable we want to record. Here it is on the trial balance. It is the second account and therefore will also be the second account on the general ledger. Scrolling over to that second account, we see it here. We're going to go to the next available spot in AR13, and we want to make this AR13 equal to that 8,000 credit. Therefore, we will select equals, point to that 8,000 credit. That will bring the balance down from 8,830 down by 8,000 to 830. That same 830 then should still be found here in the receivable. Now you would think we're done, but we're not quite done because this receivable represents what is owed to us. And if we want to know more detail of that, we can say when did these transactions happen by looking at the general ledger. It gives us the transactions by detail. And however, we want to know by who owes us the money so we can try to collect on it hopefully at some point. So to do that, we're going to record this same transaction, this same 8,000, this same 8,000 to another type of subsidiary ledger that's just in a different order, and it's going to be called the accounts receivable subsidiary ledger. We're going to scroll over to the right until we find that. So we're scrolling all the way to the right. We're going to see some green type accounts again, and that's when we know we are there. So way over here, here's our green type accounts. This is the accounts receivable subsidiary ledger by customer. We're looking at Smith Guitars. Here's Smith Guitars paid us that 8,000. So we will be in cell CS15, and that's going to be equal to this 8,000 here. So we're just posting this same 8,000 to another type of subsidiary ledger, not the general ledger, but a subsidiary ledger broken out not just by date, but also by customer. There we have that. And so the Smith Guitars owes us nothing at this time. If we add up all those accounts, then we total up to people owing us $830. Scrolling back over to our general ledger, we'll find that 830 in accounts receivable, most likely. There it is, 830. Hopefully we do, because if we weren't to find it there, it would be wrong. And we also see it on the trial balance there, and those are our accounts. We'll scroll back down, see if we are back in balance. We're back in balance, meaning the debits minus the credits equals 0. No effect in net income of this transaction, even though we got cash, because we earned the revenue in the past when we did the work. In this case, prior to this problem, this 8,000 wasn't put in this problem. It was part of the beginning balances. So we earned it prior to when we started putting together our books or putting them formally into the QuickBooks or Excel process. Now we're going to find this on the financial statements. This will be used to create the financials. We did something to the receivables. We did something to the unearned revenue. Let's just take a look at how that just is automatically making the financials in a similar way as it is in accounting software. So we're going to scroll back over here, and we just have this automated process. There's the 830. There's the undeposited funds, which probably should be in the cash account, but we're just going to break that out for now so we can see it. And here's our total assets equaling our total liabilities and equity. No impact from this transaction on the income statement down here. And the income statement net income is also part of the statement of owner's equity. Statement of owner's equity ending balance $150,555, also found on the balance sheet right here. So that will be our process.